Hi everyone, my name is Cameron. Thank you for finding this video on YouTube to learn a little bit more about the partnership that Widener University shares with the Diocese of Wilmington. We'll talk a little bit about what this partnership entails and what you are entitled to thanks to this partnership over the next 10 to 15 minutes and jump into what Widener offers in terms of programs and really just the overall Widener advantage. So we'll get going. As I mentioned, the brief overview, we'll talk a little bit about Widener, the partnership program, a quick virtual tour of campus, and as well as jumping into most of our programs. I tried to tailor this presentation specifically to the Diocese of Wilmington and the programs that you all might be interested in, and then an overview of the Widener Advantage, and we'll talk a little bit about the application process to wrap up. So Widener University's main campus is in Chester, Pennsylvania. It's just about 15 minutes outside Philadelphia, pretty close to the Delaware border as well, if you were not familiar. We have an 11-to-1 student to faculty ratio, so you'll see a lot of our students taking advantage of the relationships with our faculty to jump in on research projects or just build connections in their network for when they graduate. We have 60 plus graduate and professional programs, everything ranging from education to engineering and a whole lot in between. And as of 2023, we had about 5,600 students enrolled with us. That's pretty evenly split between our undergrad and our grad programs. So what does this partnership entitle you to? It's a 20% discount on all graduate and continuing studies tuition rates, excluding a few programs, our career medical program, our online Master's of Social Work program, and our undergraduate day programs, meaning anything that's designed for a traditional high school student matriculating directly into college. This applies to everyone at the Diocese of Wilmington, and we will waive the application fee as you are a partner employee as well. I'll get into the enrollment counselors a little bit later, but they will be a great resource to you throughout the application process. Quick virtual tour of campus here. So you get a pretty good idea of what to expect as an on-campus student. I know a lot of people will begin thinking there as well. Does that mean that these resources are only for on-campus students? If I take classes online, do I still have access to this? Yes, the answer is yes, for sure. You definitely have access to all of these resources that we showed there in that video if you are taking online classes. As a graduate student, I would say the vast majority of our programs are offered in an online format now. So something to keep in mind as you're considering programs that you want to come back to school for. So these are our adult and continuing studies programs. These programs are designed for our non-traditional college students, students who maybe have, a couple semesters completed, or students who have their high school education and haven't started college yet. It's been years and you want to come back to school. These programs are housed entirely online and will offer you, access to these programs at a pretty discounted rate, trying to help with the process of getting back into school. So we accept up to 90 credits for these programs, which is a pretty large chunk of that 120 you need for a bachelor's degree. So even if you have, 60 credits, you only have 60 to go. we can transfer those credits into one of these programs. Some of our stalwart programs here are our Organizational Development and Leadership program. That program has a correlating graduate certificate as well as master's program. So we see a lot of students that will come in, finish that up in undergrad, and continue through to the master's program, which is pretty cool. Allied Health Education, another great one on here. Our radiologic technology run through the Crozier Medical program as well. Some good programs to take a look at. Moving into graduate certificates. So you'll see a pretty wide range of things on this screen here. Mainly why I think the Diocese of Wilmington could benefit from this is the Higher Education Leadership Program. It's still a little education focused there, but maybe some other things on here that you may be interested in pursuing. These programs do stack directly into a master's degree. So, they might be 12 to 18 credits. And if you have a 12 credit certificate and a 30 credit master's, once you finish that 12 credit certificate, there's only 18 credits left until your master's. So that's pretty cool. You might be asking, why is that important as well? It's important because our certificates and our certifications are significantly discounted compared to the master's or the doctoral rate. So save you a pretty good chunk of change along the way. Some of our certifications on the next slide will have 45 credits into a 51 credit master's. You end up doing, about 90% of the program in the certification rate, and then just have to finish maybe 2 classes to complete your master's. So these are education programs, probably more relevant to the Diocese of Wilmington. These classes can be taken mostly online, and potentially even student teaching placements, practicum work can be done on campus at the Diocese of Wilmington. So some pretty cool things to consider there. When I say these online classes as well, I just want to be clear, mainly they are taught in an asynchronous format, meaning you won't have to sit for a lecture every Wednesday at 7 p.m. You'll have pre-recorded lectures and readings to do before making, say, a discussion post or having different assignments due weekly. So trying to work as diligently as we can around the 9 to 5 working adult. We offer those classes kind of at your own pace. Some of our master's programs in business, again, not sure that this is going to be super relevant, but possibly. So leaving it up here for that case, you can see our organizational development and leadership that I mentioned in our continuing studies programs shows up here. We have some specialized MBA things that could be useful in the world of education. So something to consider. These classes as well are taught mainly online. Master's programs in education. So you should have seen all of these programs on an earlier slide, whether that's the certificate or the certification page. These are the correlated master's degrees to go along with them. So like I mentioned, a big chunk of these can be done in the certification on your way to this master's. I know there are certain requirements for what you're looking for, teacher certification, things of that nature. So keep in mind all of these masters that go along with those certifications. And then a couple doctoral programs in education. So similarly, you can stack our master's programs into these doctoral programs, do a significant chunk of the coursework in the master's program, and then transfer that directly into the doctoral program. All of this, again, mainly taught in an online format. So wrapping up a little bit about the Widener Advantage here, we talked about the convenient location and the ability to access campus even if you are an online student full-time. We do have librarians that are specifically designated to all of our graduate programs. So take advantage of that if you have reports that you need to write or just some quiet space on campus that you can find to take care of some coursework. Part-time students move at their own pace. So I don't think I've touched on this yet, but pretty much all the programs that you saw there are going to be taught in a part-time or full-time format. If you want to take 1 class a semester, that's totally fine. If you prefer to take 9 to 12 credits a semester, that's fine as well. It's really moving at your own pace, seeing how quickly you want to finish things. I know when I went back and I got my master's, I was in a 36 credit program and I wanted to be in and out. I finished it in about 15 months. Those 36 credits, so about 6 to 12 credits a semester. But there are some students who will take 3 or 4 years to do the same thing, and there are tax implications with it to consider as well. So if you're trying to limit sort of stuff. We really just let students move at their own pace, whatever they're comfortable with their daily life. The average time to completion, 2 to 3 years, is really going to depend on the program. So, our PsyD, for example, that wasn't on this because I don't think it's super relevant to the Diocese of Wilmington. That's a full-time on-campus program that takes 5 years. So that one's pretty structured. It's going to be 5 years to complete it. But then when you talk some of our education programs, like I mentioned, some people might finish them in a year, others might finish in 3 to 4. So really at your own pace. I mentioned courses being offered in the evening hours. If you are in a synchronous class, like I mentioned, most of our classes are going to be taught in an asynchronous format. So you're not going to have to sit for a lecture every Wednesday at 7. If you are in one of those rare synchronous courses, it won't be super often, and it will generally be outside of working hours to make things easier for you. And then online and face-to-face, I don't think I touched on hybrid availability just yet. That's not super common with our programs, but a couple might have hybrid um, delivery systems. In those situations, we typically say that you'd be on campus about twice a semester. 2 weekends out of the semester, you'd be on campus to take classes and network with your peers. So that's all that. Now, jumping into the application process. The application process, you'll go to widener.edu/apply. It's a pretty quick application. It's going to be first name, last name, email address, program of interest, things like that. It's a really, really quick application. Could be done in about 5 minutes. And then once you finish that application, you'll receive an email that directs you to a portal. When you get to the portal, that's where you can see the checklist items. So things like prior transcripts, things like letters of recommendation or a resume or a personal statement, all that can go in there. That's kind of your hub to see where all your stuff is until you finish your application. Now, I know many people ask at this point, do we require the GRE? And I totally understand why I wouldn't want to go back and take standardized tests either. So I can tell you that we are happy to not require the GRE for the vast, vast majority of our programs. It's very unlikely that you would need to take it to apply to Widener. Now, when you're in that checklist, you might have trouble reaching out to a recommender. You might have, trouble getting a transcript from your prior institution. This is where your enrollment counselors that I mentioned earlier are going to be a great resource to you. So we have enrollment counselors dedicated to every one of our programs. They're going to be able to reach out to that recommender. They're going to be able to advocate for you to faculty. We have situations where the minimum GPA requirement is a 3.0 and your GPA might be a 2.7, and the enrollment counselor says, listen to the faculty, when they're reviewing it. We see all the other great things that the student has going on. We reviewed their application holistically, and we really believe that they'd be a great addition to Widener's campus. That's really where you can use the enrollment counselors as a resource to your educational journey. So we try to advocate for students from admissions through the application review process and make it as easy for you as possible. That is about everything that I have. So you can see our information here on the last slide. This will give you our phone number and our email that you are welcome to use anytime. Reach out with any questions you might have. If you have questions about the partnership or a specific program or Widener as a whole, we're happy to answer anything that you might have. So thank you for taking the time to listen and finding us here on YouTube, and pleased to continue our partnership. So thank you.